Well, got to start canning again. As you know, we can every fall at least, and it appears they're banning my canning lids. So as you can see, we're in a camper. Going to change things up a little bit. We're in a camper today. This is the camper that we bought a few months ago so her son could live here. He stayed here for a while until he could get back on his feet. Don't want to get in that story again. So we've been cleaning it up, getting it kind of squared away. I got the stove to work, got all the countertops and everything cleaned. The lights work. We even got a toaster. We don't eat bread anymore. We're just carnivores, which I'm going to talk about here in just a bit. But I got a 2,000 watt inverter in the shed out there, so that's what we're plugged into. And I tested the toaster. It's only 700 watts. It was easy to run. Coffee maker, it came with the camper. So did the toaster. All this came with the camper. The lights work. So got lots of neat stuff in here. Just kind of play around with. Like I said, I got the stove fixed, microwave works, refrigerator works. As you know, we can the chicken. So last year was the last year we canned our own chicken. What happened was we had a dog attack 9 of our chickens. And I've tried to explain this before, but I'm not sure really how much people understand it. We want 3 age groups of chickens. We want a brand new age group, chicks, then a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old. Then the 3-year-old in August would get butchered. Then come spring, we'd start a new group, chicks, that we would incubate ourselves. And those chicks, come August time, right when the big ones are getting butchered, the 3-year-olds are getting butchered, the youngest ones would start producing eggs. But you got to get those things incubated before June. If you don't get it done before June, then those new chickens won't start laying eggs until next spring. So you're feeding chickens that aren't producing any eggs. So since we had the dog attack, we lost our oldest, so that's what would have been butchered this month, or I guess last month. This is September 1st. Then our rooster broke his foot, so we had to put him down. So we didn't get to incubate anything this year either. So we only have 1 age group. So it's going to be a little touch and go for a while, but that's okay because at Save-A-Lot they have chicken, the 10-pound bag of chicken for $4.99. It's 49 cents per pound. Now it fluctuates in price. I couldn't tell you exactly where it is right now, but it has been anywhere from $4.99 to $10.99. Since we can't get any chicken, we need to start canning chicken. Now, we had 325 days worth of food. But this last winter, we bought a freezer. Now, before that, we had this little dorm-sized refrigerator, and we thought it went out. Turns out it didn't go out. So the day we found out we thought it was going out, we just went shopping and bought a bunch of meat. So Carolyn's packaging it up into 1-pound packages and putting it in the freezer, and she could get 30 days worth of food in that little freezer, a dorm-sized freezer. But it wasn't starting up, so we're heading to town to get a new refrigerator, and she says, I think I want a freezer instead. So we got a nice sized freezer, and we're able to run that off the solar panels. And so we don't have a refrigerator now. We could probably get another battery and probably run that. I mean, we got this one, but it's just so big. There's no reason for us to have anything this big if we want a refrigerator, but we don't. We use coolers. So now we probably have 100 days, somewhere in there, maybe 90 days, 100 days, 120 days worth of food in the freezer, plus all our canned food. Well, then we found the kitty. She was a stray, and we named her Skitty. You haven't seen her in a long time, but she's in the house sleeping right now. She sleeps all day long. We've discovered that canned chicken costs less than going out and buying canned cat food. And I forget what the price was, but it was really cheap. So we decided, why not go ahead and feed the cat the chicken that we've canned up, save on cost for the cat. And the cat does a good job around here, keeps the snakes and the mice away. We had a real snake problem this year, and I only saw 2, maybe 3, but I'm pretty certain it was the same one. And then I didn't see it anymore, so she got rid of that snake. Mice, had a mouse in the water tank storage box. Had a mouse in there one day, and the next day it was gone. So I mean, she's good at catching those things. So she's worth keeping around. And she does serve as a little bit of a guard cat. Not so much with humans. She gets frightened if she sees a human around, so we know there's a human around when she starts to scamper off. But if there's a raccoon or something on the porch, she'll make noise, let us know there's something out there. We're starting to run low on chicken since we're not incubating, so we're going to get that bagged chicken. Now, it used to be I used to can that chicken out on the back porch, and it worked out okay, but the flies and the bees were so bad all the time. Trying to keep when you were putting the chicken inside the jar, they just wouldn't go away. Now, we don't even have bees around here, but bees always showed up on the day of canning, so they must be attracted to something in that chicken. Well, it doesn't matter what we can. We only can meat. I should have said that. We're carnivores. So we can the meat, and the flies would show up. So, but the thing is it was so easy to keep everything clean. If you spilt something, no big deal. At the end of the day, you pour some soap on the back porch, swept it with a wet broom, and then sprayed it off. So I enjoy cooking in the back porch, but you got to have a lot of room. So we had jars laying around all over the back porch, and they cool. And of course, it took a long time to can. When we can chicken, we cook the chicken until it falls off the bone. And then we put that chicken into jars and then can the chicken. Now, you can do a cold pack with chicken. There's a difference between hot pack and cold pack, or raw pack, whatever you want to call it. Cooking the chicken first and then putting it in the boneless chicken in the jars is called hot pack. But when you do pork, it's a lot easier. You just cut the pork up, put it in a jar, and can it, and cooks while it's canning. You can do that with chicken. You can put the whole bone and everything in there, and then you can can it and eat the bone and everything when you open it up. So you get more weight and volume and all that, but it just took up so much space in the jars that you'd use a lot more jars. Now, we can 20 jars at a time. We've got 2 canners, and we were doing it on a Coleman camp stove. Now, when you cook the bone, and I say you can eat the bone, it becomes real soft. So you got the bone marrow and all that, calcium. It's not a bad idea, except it just uses so much space. Carolyn and I was talking, and we think that we're going to get it off the canning off the back porch. We're going to do it in the camper here. I mean, it would be pretty nice to do it in here, actually. I mean, if you think about it, I can sit down on the couch, I can bring my computer over, I can edit videos. I could actually start. I tried to video my canning videos before. People don't like to watch them. I could probably do it again and see if people would pick up on watching them, but my audience is primarily male. They've called me a wussy before for doing it, except without a W and add a P. So I don't know if my audience will watch it, but I could try it again. But doing it in here, it'd be easy to set the camera up, and I can move it around, and it'd be a lot easier than out there on that back porch. It was kind of difficult to film while canning on that back porch. But I could edit videos in here, and everything would be in one spot, and it would be perfect. But I didn't want to make a big mess in here. So yesterday I tried to make this video, and my audio was bad. So I have to make it again today. But since then, I realized how I can keep this place clean. I don't want to use the stove because Carolyn has spent so much time trying to clean this stove up. I mean, it was just, it's an old camper. I mean, you can see it's kind of falling apart. But it served our needs. It's what we needed it for. We'll never go camping in it, but it'll do great. So I didn't want to use the stove, but we could bring that Coleman camp stove in here and set it on the sink here. And everything splashed over, it would splash off into the sink and wouldn't be near the mess boiling that chicken. Now, it could get hot in here, but that's no big deal, especially if it's on a sunny day. We got the air conditioner, and I know I can run it. When Carolyn's son was here, he was running it, and I didn't even have the solar panels quite as efficient as I do now. Now, there's several ways that you can can food. I talked about raw pack and hot pack. You can use metal lids. Now, when you're talking to a prepper, I can almost bet you that's what they're talking about, metal lids. When they're canning, they're using metal lids. Well, the problem with metal lids is their availability. Back in the 70s, Congress actually held hearings. You can Google this. I'm not even telling the story correctly. I'm sure it's been years since I actually read the story. But they held hearings with ball lids because they had a shortage. So it was the same time where the economy was going bad and ball lids ran out. So they held congressional hearings with Ball, or whoever it was, Mason, I don't know who it was. It's just because everybody was canning back then because the economy was so bad. In a time of need, canning lids aren't available. And they cost a lot in comparison to what I'm going to show you here. Also, when SHTF were to happen and it's long term, like a depression, I think depression lasts 10 years, something like that. So if it's a long term thing, you may not be able to get canning lids. So what are you going to can? How are you going to can? You may have to go back to old techniques, but we won't have to because we use Tattler lids. Now, Tattler lids is a plastic cap and a rubber seal. Now, in the olden days, they used to make these, and they were glass. So the plastic cap you can use indefinitely. The rubber seal you can use 10 times. Then you got to replace it. It's a lot cheaper replacing those seals because a box of 12 costs $9. But when you break it down, there's 12 of them. You're using it 10 times. It's 120 uses for $9. You can break that down and it's like, well, it's a lot cheaper than regular canning lids. And the nice thing is we have enough that will last us the rest of our life. There's a big hoopty about the plastic lids. A lot of people are getting upset about the plastic lids because it has chemicals in it that are especially bad for men or women carrying boy babies. It's bad for. And they're wanting to ban them. Every time you get on Facebook, somebody's, I'm going to ban them. I'm going to get them banned. I'm going to sign a petition. Get them banned. First of all, I don't know what they're going to ban because Tattler made these lids back in the 70s during the shortage of canning lids. Well, I guess during the pandemic or sometime before the pandemic, just whatever, they decided to go ahead and release their inventory. So they made these in the 70s, is my understanding. Then didn't sell much for years and years and years. And then the son got old enough and he wanted to do something with the business. And the dad was like, no, I don't. So the son went off and created his own business making plastic lids that are pretty much identical to these plastic lids. So they're in competition. Well, I guess dad ran out of plastic lids. And instead of making more plastic lids, he made metal lids, which I don't have any of. I wish I had them now, but I don't. I don't know what these people are wanting to ban since there's nothing banned. Now, of course, I guess they could just say, stop selling these, whatever is left over in the inventory you find on Amazon. But they're metal now. But here's the thing, is the only time anything may touch that plastic lid is when it's cooking. The rest of the time, it's never touching the lid. So when you put your plastic water bottle out in your car in the dashboard and it's sucking up all that heat, those chemicals from that plastic is being released into the water. It can't happen here because the food is never, except initially, is it touching the lid. So I have no fears with using these. And the thing is they're reusable. Now there is a little bit of a downside to these. Is if you're canning meat, there is a risk that grease can come up from your meat. You can see all that kind of that greasy stuff there. It's one of the reasons I don't can the skin of chickens, because it creates more grease. And that grease can jump up there onto that lip right here and keep it from sealing. The metal canning lids that you buy, not the Tattler, but the regular ones, the ball, they tend to adapt to that okay. But you'll get a failure. I think out of 20 of them, the most I've ever had fail was 3. It's no big deal. You can just recan them. Or you can just put them in the freezer. If you got enough room in the freezer, and use them up right away. Which is typically what we do. We just put them in the freezer and give them to the cat. I was on Facebook a while back. Somebody talked about Tattler lids, and I was saying how much I loved them and they were great. And this woman just went off on me. I mean, just went off. And she was saying that she is going to petition the FDA or the USDA to get these things banned. They're just too toxic. Nobody needs to be using these. Well, I have a real problem with that, because if you don't want them, fine, don't buy them. That's your business. But if I want to buy them, that's my business. You've warned me of the risk. I've acknowledged the risk. Let's move on, and I'll buy, and we'll let the free marketplace determine what's better. If people who know that there may be problems with them continue to buy them, so be it. But I would rather have something to can and eat if something terrible happened than not have anything, and then you don't even have Facebook to complain about Tyler, Liz, because SHTF happened that these preppers talk about. So no, I don't think they need to be banned, especially now that they're making them out of metal. I've got a glass one that we found here on the property down there at the truck camper. So if you click this up next box to take you to a video where I was talking about preppers, so I hope I can inspire you to use your own brains so you don't need the government when you're living your dream. Thanks for watching.